I give Scout a lot of shit. He's a hero that everybody seems to love to hate, and he's often classified as the pub hero of Heroes of Newerth, completely worthless in competitive play. While this was true for a while, especially while people were still experimenting with Scout, it doesn't really hold true anymore. A lot of people blame this to the fact that people don't understand Scout's role. When people hear the name Scout, they think support. Scout sounds like a hero that should be running around, initiating, and playing support. As much as this might seem like the right role for Scout, truth be told, Scout is in reality a hard carry hero similar to Nighthound. All carry heroes have some sort of perk. Scout's claims to fame are that he has very high move speed, is very difficult to kill, is a great farmer, and he's an incredible teamfight silence ability. Scout's only real problem is that early on he isn't very good for very much, which is why he's often criticized. In addition to this large flaw, Scout's invisibility is countered fairly easily by items such as wards, dust, or puzzle box. Because of this, I urge you to pick Scout as the last and final hero pick so that the enemy has no means to counter Scout through heroes. Since it's already so easy to counter him through items, being countered by heroes is simply not something that you want to put up with. Look out for heroes like Pestilence or Arachna. In addition to being a great carry hero in himself, Scout is also a pretty good anti-carry due to the fact that during one-on-one fights, he usually has the upper hand due to disarm. Despite these flaws, Scout is a surprisingly powerful and misunderstood hero. In most cases, I find myself annoyed by people who pick Scout in pubs, not because Scout is a bad hero, but because they usually just don't know how to play him correctly. People might laugh at you when you pick Scout, but late game, there's nothing to laugh at. A fed Scout is probably the least funny thing in the world next to Dane Cook, and your enemy really won't appreciate being 5-shot. So, let's look at a skill build. Obviously, Electric Eye is taken at level 1 to ward the tablet spots. When you start out the game as Scout, immediately buy a hatchet and some other stat boosting items of your choice and proceed to run to the first tablet spot. As Legion, you should go to the bottom lane, and as Hellborn, you should go to the top lane so that you can pull neutrals. The top tablet spot can be warded without chopping down any trees. Simply place the ward on top of the ledge from below, but make sure it is on the upper level. At the bottom tablet spot, chop down this tree to gain access to the large upper area and place a ward there. Assuming you left the base as quick as possible, you should be able to ward both of these spots with no problems. If enemies destroy one or both of these wards, don't sweat it, you can just put them up again. You don't need to ward up both tablet spots if you don't want to. You can also invest in warding the area around your lane to prevent ganks, but it is recommended that you ward up at least one tablet spot. One of my favorite perks about being Scout is that people can't ward your neutrals. If you find your neutrals aren't spawning, drop an Electric Eye directly on where they should be. If you can't see any enemy ward, send a flying courier to the area to scout it, and then kill the ward using a hatchet if necessary. You can then simply destroy the ward that you placed and then continue farming neutrals in peace knowing that your enemy just wasted 100 gold. I should note that it is possible, if you feel the need to counter ward enemy wards up on ledges. This is usually hard to do since you are not a ranged hero, and on the higher ledges it usually requires you to have a ward of sight already there. Personally, I usually simply don't have time to counter ward these spots as Scout because I never have any time for anything in between farming. But if you are sure that your enemy has a ward right up there 100%, you're going to want to counter ward it. Early game Scout is pretty useless, I'm not going to lie. Last hit to the best of your ability and pull neutrals as often as you can. With a hatchet, your auto attacks should be hitting pretty hard, so assuming you aren't being harassed heavily and you have a decent babysitter, last hitting should be pretty easy. You shouldn't ever die in the laning phase. I urge you to be better safe than sorry and use Vanish ahead of time should enemies be coming at you with mean looks on their faces. If needed, you can drop a ward and use it for silence to either give yourself an extra few seconds of time for your Vanish to come up or to help a teammate. One thing a lot of novice Scout players don't know is that you can both place and detonate wards while cloaked without breaking your cloak. If your teammate is being attacked, you must help them by using your silence. Once you have your sustainer, you can basically begin killing jungle creeps on your own if your lane is pushed or it's simply too dangerous. When killing neutrals, use Vanish to give yourself a boost of attack speed. Since you use it right away, it only costs 30 mana. If you're killing large neutrals that hurt, use Vanish and then back away until it is up again. Usually, you want to avoid killing neutrals until you find that you are level 7. If teammates come to gank in your lane, your ultimate is your main tool for assisting them. Note that since you need vision of the enemy hero to successfully ult them, don't waste time trying to line up ults that you know won't land. A level 1 marksman shot has a very long channeling time and is therefore better suited as an opener than a finisher, but it can be used as both. The silence from wards is also increasingly useful when people come to gank your lane to shut down any retaliation the enemy has to offer. You can detonate wards while channeling your ultimate. I should note that when you finish channeling your ultimate, you will come out of Vanish, so if possible, never begin ulting while still invisible. But truth be told, Scout's usefulness is limited before he finishes the Ruined Axe. Once you have your Ruined Axe and Steam Boots, you are officially a useful hero capable of actually doing things. The Ruined Axe also makes killing creeps like cutting through butter with a warm knife. Your main priority remains farming, but you should always respond to ganking requests in the area. With the Ruined Axe, your auto attacks become deadly, and coupled with your crit and your silence as an opener, you can already dish out heavy amounts of damage to enemies. Although Scout is often called a hero with no survivability who often dies in team fights shortly after he exits Vanish, this isn't true, simply because of his amazing silence. Scout's silence lasts 6 seconds, the same duration of Defiler's silence or the full duration of Nighthound's Cloud. If you compare these abilities, you'll see that Scout's silence is far superior to Defiler's in every aspect other than the range. The radius is much larger and you can use it while stunned or silenced. I should note that although you can use the auto detonator on your ward if you are silenced, you will have to manually select the ward and press Q to detonate it while you are stunned. In team fights, your silence is incredible. Both the duration of the silence and the radius make it an amazing opener and give Scout the ability to stay alive during Vanish's cooldown. At rank 4, Vanish's cooldown is 6 seconds, the exact same time as Scout's silence at rank 4. This isn't a coincidence. A good Scout can literally give the enemy no time at all to cast any spell on him, assuming he landed a good silence. Later in the game, I should also mention that you can place additional wards. The best part about Scout's wards late game besides the silence is that they last indefinitely. Place them the same way you would place normal wards in terms of general area, but try to place them in places where enemies won't normally walk directly past them to ensure longevity. Item-wise, Scout is pretty simple. Despite the strange, wide array of items I've seen on Scout on pubs, ranging from codex to God knows what else, Scout is an incredibly easy hero to build. For starters, always make a Ruined Axe. In fact, since Scout's move speed is so high with Vanish, you shouldn't even need boots before Ruined Axe is finished most of the time. After that, and you finish Steam Boots, I usually make a Savage Mace. Savage Mace is more or less the best DPS item for Scout, simply because it procs a lot with Vanish. It can also proc while you crit with Disarm. After that, you're basically free to get whatever you want. Some people would like to make a Shrunken Head after this point to increase your ability to carry after you use your silence. Shield Breaker is another good way to increase your damage, but honestly it's kind of redundant because your damage is already going to be ridiculous and you should now be focusing more on survivability. If you are in a heavy competition with enemy carry heroes, Wingbow will still be the best way to go for evasion. Another good choice is Lifesteal. Whispering Helm offers a lot of lifesteal for cheap, in addition to a lot of damage. I've read on some guides that people like to pick up a Harkins on Scout, but personally I haven't tried it myself. You're open to your own ideas for late game luxury items depending on the situation.